Alright guys, I decided that I'm going to refinish the Russian wood stock set on my Waffen Works AK-74. I've been thinking about doing this for a little while, and I finally decided I'm going to do it. There's nothing wrong with the wood, it's just I always like the darker color for the AKs. So the color that I went with, or that I chose, is the red oak number 215. It looks really nice. And I'm going to be using polyurethane, clear satin. This is an oil-based polyurethane, it's not the water-based. It takes a lot longer to dry, but in the end it's much better. It's a lot more durable. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be refinishing the wood. I'll give you guys little update videos, as I'm doing it. And real quick, just to tell you how I'm going to do it, I've already said this in previous videos, but in case you're new, I'll be using either 00 or 000 steel wool to remove the original finish and the color. And if I use 00 steel wool to remove the color, I'll use 000 steel wool to smooth the wood out a little bit more, to make it more smooth, and then get a damp cloth and wipe the wood down to get any little shavings from the steel wool off the wood. Let it dry, it shouldn't take too long, and then get a cloth to apply the finish. Okay, you can get like an old t-shirt, rip it up. It's a lot easier and better to use the cloth instead of a brush. It puts the color on more even, and I'll put either 2 or 3 coats depending on how dark I decide I want it to be. And after the stain is done, to apply the polyurethane, I either use this right here. This is an all natural fiber bristle brush, or I'll use foam brushes. I'll try both of them. In the past, the sponge brush has always worked better, but I'll give this one a chance. The first coat of polyurethane you put on, let it dry 100%, and you get 4/0 steel wool and lightly buff the first coat of polyurethane. Then you apply a second coat, lightly buff it, put on a third coat, and you lightly hit it with the 4/0 steel wool once again, and you do that until you get the finish that you desire. Okay, so I'll show you guys the progress as I'm doing it, but that's just a quick overview of what the whole process is going to involve. So see you guys shortly. Alright, I got the stock set all prepped and ready to go, and I forgot to mention earlier, it makes it a lot easier if you actually take the stock set off the rifle before you start working on it. The first AK that I ever refinished was my Wasser 10 back in 2009, and I refinished the stock while it was on the gun, and it just made it kind of hard to work with. So remove your stock, your foregrip, and your gas tube cover. Take it all off the rifle before you work on it, and that just makes it a lot easier. I used 00 steel wool to remove the varnish and the stain, and then I used 000 steel wool to smooth out the wood, and that's just natural color right there. I didn't miss anything. Okay, and you kind of want all the pieces to be kind of like the same shade, okay, like of raw wood, before you actually put your stain on, just to keep the color consistent. Alright, and here's all the pieces right here, screws, gas tube, all that stuff. And here's the rifle, pretty much stripped down to nothing. And the AK, when you have it all taken apart, you can see just how simple of a design it really is. I mean, literally a receiver riveted, you got a barrel riveted into the trunnion, gas, or the this piece right here. It's just really simple. Yeah, there's your gas block right there. I forget what this piece is called. Yeah, there it is. Alright, so I'm going to apply the first coat of stain, and I'll be right back. Alright, we're going to begin to stain the wood. Now I'm just going to do the fore end here on the camera, because because once I do one piece, it's kind of obvious how I do it. I'm not going to do everything on camera because that might just get boring, but make sure you stir it up real good. And what we're going to do is get this cloth and we're going to put a heavy coat on first. Okay, the first coat is going to be real nice and heavy, and I'm going to let it sit for maybe 10 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'm going to get another cloth like this and wipe off the excess. Okay, and then you let that dry and you repeat it. You always want to wipe off the excess. So that's what we're going to do, and I'm not going to show myself wiping off the excess. I just want to let you know that's what you do. I'm just going to show you how I apply it. So you get your cloth right here, dip it in like that, and you just coat the wood. And this will be the third AK that I've refinished so far. It's actually kind of fun to refinish your own gun, you know. You can pretty much make it however you want it. And I was thinking about doing it, and I was kind of held back a little bit because this is an all original Soviet AK-74 stock set, so it kind of does have value, and that's looking pretty good. And I don't know, I was kind of holding off, but then I just decided I'm not really going to be selling this anyway, so if it kills the value of it, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, put a little bit more on to make it nice and heavy. And I'll let this penetrate the wood for 10 or 15 minutes, and whatever is not absorbed by the wood within that time, I'll be wiping off the excess. Okay, there we go. I'm going to let that sit. I'm going to do the rest of these too right now, but that just gives you an idea of how I do it. Alright, so I'll be back. Alright, here's the first coat on all the parts. It's looking pretty good. Here's the stock itself, and we're just going to be letting this dry. It is 6:59, so around 7:15 or so. I'll wipe off the excess, and we'll apply the second coat. So there it is for now. See you soon. Alright, I ended up putting 4 coats on, and the 4th coat is now dry. Give you an idea of what the color looks like. And this is the red oak once again. Came out pretty good. Alright, there's this stock. And here's the foregrip. I'm pretty pleased with it. And here's the upper gas tube cover. And I just started to stir up the polyurethane. Make sure you stir it up so you get its maximum performance. And I'm going to use this brush right here, this foam brush, for the first coat, and I might experiment with this all-natural bristle brush for the second coat just to see if there's a difference. But in the past, these foam brushes always worked perfectly fine, so I'm going to use it first. Okay. And here is my 4O steel wool to buff the polyurethane coats in between, putting coats on. I'm probably going to put 3 coats on minimum, and I'm going to show you how I apply the polyurethane real quick, just so you guys can get an idea. Alright. Wait a minute, hold on. Alright, so like I said, you want to stir this up pretty good, and we'll start off with the upper gas tube cover. You don't got to put a lot on. Alright, you just, actually you should go with the grain of the wood. I guess it doesn't really matter though, but that's what they recommend. And if you notice, using a foam brush, you don't get a lot of bubbles in the polyurethane. If you have like a really cheap brush that's just a piece of junk, as you're putting on the polyurethane, you're going to see a lot of streaks of bubbles, and it just really ruins it. So make sure you have a good one. Make sure you get all the way down where the edges are. Okay. Make sure you didn't miss any spots. Looks good. This is just to give you an idea. I really enjoy refinishing stocks. Some guys don't really care for it. They'll go and order a custom made stock and pay like $300 for it, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But doing it this way is actually really fun. It's not that hard either. And you can get it looking pretty good, pretty close to how the custom made stocks look. And you don't want to put it on too heavy, because then if you put it on too heavy as it's drying, it'll start to run down and it'll dry like that, and it's kind of hard to fix. It's just a pain. So put it on kind of light, because like I said, we're going to be putting on at least 3 coats. And I think I got it all. Looks good. Now for the stock. And this is the clear satin. When it comes to AK rifles, I never really liked the way semi-gloss or full gloss looks, because it's an AK, so it shouldn't really look glossy. I think the clear satin looks pretty good. I don't know, some guys like the glossiness. And the cheapest place that I found the polyurethane and the stain itself is Walmart. If you go to like a local hardware store or Lowe's, it might be $3 or $4 more expensive. So check Walmart out. Now you can see I'm getting a little bit of bubbles here. I can just take my time and work it out. And it's real important to make sure you get the edges. You don't want to miss it. This is going to look really good when it's done. Alright. We'll let the first coat dry, and I'll show you how to use the steel wool to very lightly buff the first coat and then apply the second coat. So I'll see you soon. Alright guys, I pretty much buffed all the parts with my steel wool, and I just wanted to demonstrate exactly how I do it. Now this is pretty much done, but when you're doing this, after the first coat dries, the can says wait 4 hours. It'll be kind of shiny a little bit, and when you're doing the steel wool, you want to do it very lightly, and you want to go in one direction with the grain of the wood. You don't want to be going back and forth in a scrubbing motion, and you don't want to press real hard. Very lightly, just go over it. And it doesn't take that long, but be very gentle with it. I mean, I'm hardly pushing down at all, okay? And eventually, the sheen will go away and it'll look real dull like that, okay? And what you're doing is you're preparing the first coat of polyurethane. You're making it a little bit aggressive so that when you put the second coat on, it really grabs onto the first coat and it makes it more durable. And that's how you're supposed to do it. The can says to use very fine sandpaper to do this, but I like to use 4O steel wool. And I think it comes out better. So, like I said, very lightly, one direction, and just do that until it's like a dull finish. And we're going to put another coat on, let it dry for about 4 hours or so. Sometimes the second coat takes a little bit longer to dry, so maybe 5 or 6 hours. And then do the same thing with the steel wool, do it again, and then put a third coat on. And if you like the way it looks, you can either leave it shiny like that, or you can get the steel wool again, lightly do this and make it more of a dull finish. Now this is satin, so even if you leave it shiny, it's not going to be real glossy. You're supposed to do this anyway when you're done, just to take away the sheen, but there it is. Now all of these parts have little pieces of steel wool all over it. Okay, so I'm going to have to get a damp cloth, wipe it all down, let it dry, and then I'll put the second coat on. So that's how I do it. Okay, very simple. So I'll be back in a bit. Alright, here we go, second coat of polyurethane. And one of the most important things, like I think I said before, put it on very light. You want to put on a thin coat. Okay? Very thin. Because I've done this in the past, and if you put it on too heavy, it'll run and drip. And when it dries, there'll be run marks all over the wood. And you gotta buff it out and redo it. So just put it on real light. Really doesn't take much. And I like to use oil-based, like I said. You know, I know the water-based dries a lot quicker, but if you think about it, you know, this is the stock of a gun. You know, I'd rather wait for it to dry and turn out nice and have a nice stock set for a long time than wait have it dry real quickly but then have a finish that's not durable, that chips and, you know, flakes off. So do it right, be patient, and do the oil based. Especially this stock set. This is a Russian stock set. It's over $100, you know what I mean? Okay. Put that aside. And this is the second coat, so after this I'll do what I just did again. I'll get the steel wool, I'll buff this coat, and I'll put the third coat on. And after the third coat's on, depending on how it looks, I might leave it the way it is, or I might once again get the steel wool and lightly go over it to take away the sheen. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I don't know what look I want exactly. I'll wait until I get to that step. Okay, I think I got it. And now for the stock. Piece of fuzz. I don't want that to dry with the polyurethane. Okay. Nice and light. This really came out good so far. Yeah, the first AK that I ever refinished was a Wasser 10 back in 2009. And back then, you know, I didn't know anything about AKs, and I had no idea. I knew how to take the stock off, but I had no idea how to take the lower handguard and the gas tube cover off, and I wasn't even going to mess with it. And I just got, what was it? It was like painter tape or something. I just, between the receiver and the stock, I just put it and I tucked it in so I didn't put stain and polyurethane on the metal by accident, and it turned out all right, but it could have been much better. So it makes it a lot easier if you take this top off. You can work with it better. Make sure you get the edges. And I decided not even to use the natural bristle brush. The foam brush works great, so I'm not going to change anything. I'll just do this. Can't wait to see what this looks like on the gun. Anywhere you see any bubbles, just lightly go over it. Okay, looks good to me. And whenever I'm done putting the polyurethane on for this coat, I get my brush and just get a piece of cloth, and you want to soak whatever polyurethane is left in the foam out of it, otherwise it'll dry and get hard. And you don't want to run it under water either. Just get a cloth, squeeze it, and all that polyurethane will come out of the sponge and go into the cloth. And you don't got to get absolutely all of it, but as long as you get most of it, you'll be fine. And this is the second time that I'm using this brush. And that should be good. Okay, we'll let this dry and do the steel wool again and put the third coat on. So see you guys then. Alright, this is going to be the third and final coat of the polyurethane, and I've already steel wooled all the parts off camera because I've already shown how to do that, and there's no reason to waste time. And we'll start with the forward handguard. It's coming out really good. Nice thin coat. And I'll let this coat dry 24 hours or so, and I'll make up my mind whether I'm going to leave it the way it is or buff it one more time to make it appear less shiny. We'll see. But so far I'm pleased with it. And I really recommend doing this, guys. If you have an AK, whether it be an AKM, AK-47, or AK-74, and you have a wood stock, and you want to redo it, you don't got to be intimidated or afraid. It's really not that complicated. A lot of guys go out and they spend hundreds of dollars on custom-made stocks. And there's nothing wrong with that, if that's what you want. But you can do it yourself. There's stocks out there that look just like this, and they go for around $300. I don't know if you guys ever heard of, I think it's Block Customs. They buy their wood stock sets from, I think it's Ironwood Designs, and those stock sets are raw wood, and I think they're around like $150 or so. And then Block Customs refinishes them. They stain them and they put a finish on them, and they'll sell it to you guys for like, I think their prices are like around $280 or so, and that's a lot of money for a stock. You could do this and it looks pretty much the same. You might not be able to get the exact colors that they use, because everything they do is in-house. So they might, have techniques of mixing colors or so, or a different process, but Go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart, and if you see a color stain that you like, you can do this. Anybody can do it. Just gotta take your time, be patient, and know what you're doing. I'd rather refinish my own. I like it better. Make sure you get in this groove real good. I think that should do it. Now there's a spot by the edge that I missed. Really pay attention to the edges. Another spot. Alright. Yeah, that should do it. We'll let that dry. And I'll make up my mind. I'll look at it. There's another spot that I missed. Yeah, when it's done drying, it'll have a clear satin look to it. And if you don't like it, if you like it to be more dull than it is when it dries, just get the steel wool, the 4 steel wool, and lightly go over it, and it'll make it a little bit more dull. Okay, some people like it the way it dries originally, and some people like it to make it a little bit more dull. I'll make up my mind once I get there. But alright, we'll let it dry, and I'll let you see the end result. Alright guys, here's the refinished stock set. It came out really nice. I actually ended up putting 4 coats of the polyurethane on, because after the 3rd coat I saw a few spots where the polyurethane kind of started to run while it dried, and I didn't catch it, so I had to get steel wool and rebuff it again, and then the final coat was good. I've already got my hardware on. Alright, the butt plate, sling swivel. It's a really nice color, really nice satin finish. I love it. Here's the lower handguard. Came out really nice. Finish feels great too. And here is the gas tube cover. Upper handguard. Yeah. Everything looks nice, and in the next video, this will be part 1. This will be AK-74 stock refinishing part 1, and part 2 I'll show you guys me putting the stock on the rifle. Alright, so just wanted to show you guys how it came out. Once again, really nice. I really enjoy doing this, It's really fun to do. Yep, I love it. Alright, next video, I'll show you guys me installing it on the rifle. See ya.